Hey everyone, it's Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm playing around with a really fun new stencil set that I purchased recently, and also a stamp set. Now, both are from Concord and Ninth, but they're kind of from different collections. This fun stamp set is from their Picked Posy collection, and I really liked it. I believe I also have the coordinating dies as well, but I'm only going to be using the Hello stamp for this today. So I have that, but I also have another little stencil set from Concord and Ninth, though it's from a different little collection. I believe this is called Autumn Hues, but they come together in a little duo, and we have one that is more of a background stamp stencil, background stencil, and both of them are going to be a turnabout. So we're going to be rotating them as we go to create, for this one, a really nice background, but for this one, we're going to keep rotating it and we're going to create a fun wreath. So I did pick some really fun colors that I thought inspired me for the autumn season to make some really fun colored leaves. And I'm excited to show you how fun these look together because I really like this combination. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do all of my stenciling at first, and we're going to do one card using this background stencil, and then we'll also do another card that's going to feature this beautiful wreath. So let's go ahead and get started stenciling, and then we're going to put together two really beautiful cards. Plus at the end, I'm going to be making two coordinating envelopes. Okay, so to start, I'm going to go ahead and open up all my ink colors. I have a variety of little ink cubes from Pink Fresh Studio. So I'm going to do passion fruit and coral reef for more of my kind of salmon and almost pink red-ish colors. Then I'm going to do apricot for my orange. It's kind of a nice muted orange, which if you know me, that's kind of as orange as I want to go. And then I have a sweet mustard, which is a really pretty yellow. So I'm going to get all of those all ready to go. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use a 6x6 piece of cardstock. This is 80-pound cardstock. And let's start by doing the background stencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Waffle Flower stencil mat, and I'm just going to make sure that my cardstock, now it's white on white, but I think you can see there, I'm going to make sure my cardstock is really nice and snug in that corner, because if I make sure that that is snug, and then if I make sure that my stencil, come here, is nice and snug, then every time I turn it, it will be in the correct spot and it will do a successful little turnabout. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm just gonna go from left to right. So I'm gonna start with passion fruit, and I'm just gonna clean off my brush really quick to make sure I don't have any residue on it. Okay, and then now I find that pinks and reds kind of stain the mat, and I mean, I know our craft supplies are meant to get, they're meant to get dirty, but you know, I struggle sometimes with them getting all icky. So I like to just put it on my mat, if you will, or it's my glass mat, because, well, it just wipes off really nice. I know that this is going to get dirty. It already has a couple little pinky hues on it, but when I can, I try to keep it a little bit clean. But, you know, it's something that just bothers me. If it doesn't bother you, I know it shouldn't bother me, but it's just the way I am. Okay, so I'm actually going pretty light on these, and that's why I'm tapping off a little bit too, because you can always add more, right? But I really wanted just kind of a nice light tone on the background and then also on the wreath. And just continuing on, finishing up the last couple. Okay, so again, you can always add more if you really want to just make those even more bold, but I really like just kind of a soft look here. So I'm going to go ahead and reveal. Isn't that pretty? I really like that. So I'm going to really quickly just wipe this off, and then we're going to turn it. Okay, so we originally had it in this position, and it also does say this side up for reference on the bottom. And then but you know, honestly, for this kind of pattern, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. I wouldn't think. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is making sure this is still snug. Never hurts to double check. I'm going to go ahead and turn it once to the left See, this is where I had it originally, but I'm going to turn it once to the left, and then I'm going to lay it back down, and we have fresh new paper and fresh new little canvas right underneath. So I'm going to just wipe this off really quickly, and then we're going to go right into the coral reef color. Okay, so coral reef, and then I'll go ahead and just blend right into those new open spaces that we have since we turned the stencil. I love these little turnabout stencils. I think they're so fun because it's one stencil and you can just get so creative with it. Now you could use all the same color. You could do some really, really fun things with this. And depending on the colors that you choose, right, you could have something that looks totally different each and every time. Again, doing more of a light blend, just because I want a little lighter tone. But I liked this color combination. These four together I think are really, really fun. And finishing up the last couple. I honestly do believe that there is something so therapeutic about blending with stencils. It's also the ultimate surprise when you lift it up. I mean, obviously you can kind of see underneath a little bit, but there's nothing like that reveal of a stencil. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lift up my stencil only, and then we have our next layer. I love that. Now, if you'll notice, it's a little shallow on the corners just because we have a little lip there, which is an element that really helps with lining up stencils, but don't worry, I'm going to be trimming this down to an A2 size, actually probably a little thinner than an A2 size, so I don't tend to worry about having those crisp edges because we're just going to trim it down anyway. Okay, taking a little wipe real quick and just wiping this down once more. And if you ever forget which way, you know, because you kind of rotate as you're cleaning, right? But you can always just kind of line it back up to where it was previously. So I know I was there. And then again, I'm just gonna make sure that it is all tight in that corner. And then I'll turn once more to the left and then reveal another little area to work with. Okay, now I'm going to use apricot, which is really, really pretty orange. And I'm gonna give myself a little fresh area here as well. And we'll start blending. Okay, so apricot coming in. And going a little light. Ooh, I went a little heavy on that. Okay. Some colors I find go on like real heavy right away, right? And then there's some where I feel like you're just continuously layering just to even see the color. I'm sure you know what I mean if you have been playing around with ink blending. It kind of just depends on the color, but you just kind of have to play around with each and every one. And it's always fair that if you start lighter, you're good to go because you can't take away, but you can always add more, right? Right. Okay, finishing up this portion and this color, and then we will move on to the final color. And I think what I'll do is I will get all of my stenciling done right now just because I have the colors laid out, I have my stencil mat out. So we'll just get all of our stenciling done right at the beginning, and then we will get to really creating these cards individually and making them shine. Okay, I really like this. Just adding any color to whichever ones I think just need a little extra oomph. Okay. And the best thing is if you peel it up or pick it up and want to do a little bit more, you can just lay the stencil right back down because it's positioned perfectly, right? I really like that though. That's really pretty. Okay, I'm going to wipe off my stencil and bring it right back over. Looks good. And also you want to just double check that the back remains clean as well. Okay, so I was here, and then, as I'm sure you have figured out by now, just one rotation. Okay, clean this off, and I will grab my yellow. Sweet mustard, and definitely know I need to tap that one off. This one comes in pretty bold pretty quickly, and I don't want it too heavy. This would also be fun to use those texture pastes on. I actually do have some, and I need to just bravely open some and work with them because I've seen others use them with stencils, and it's so pretty. So I just need to do it. Okay, I'm gonna take some residue, well, I'm just gonna take some of the leftover over here to do my last little leaf, and I think that looks great. Okay, picking up to reveal, and there is our pretty pattern. I really like how these colors work together. I think they're so pretty. Obviously, we have a little bit more red, orange, and yellow, but I like that addition of the coral because I think it's just fun. And I like that the passion fruit is a little bit more on the pink side too. I just think that's really pretty. Okay, and then how pretty is this too, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this down a little bit. You can see that the orange and yellow go really nice, but the pinks, they just like to stay forever. Okay, now what I'll do is I will take this to the side, and I'm going to bring in another little 6x6 piece of cardstock, again 80 pound. I'll link the cardstock that I like down below in the description box. And then we're going to move on to this next stencil here, and as you can see, it's going to be a wreath. So you can see it's more of a circular pattern, and this was obviously more all over. I'm gonna wipe this down before I forget, and then let's go ahead and do the same color combination on the wreath. So while different in shape, the whole technique and idea is the same. So card or paper panel really up in that corner, position your stencil the same way, and then we'll go ahead and just start with the passion fruit. And this one goes really quick. There's not a lot of openings, and they're tightly close to one another, more in the center. So this one builds upon itself much quicker. Okay, first layer is down. Do a quick wipe, but let's reveal. Very pretty. Okay, then this is how we were. We're going to just turn once. We have new fresh paper underneath, and I'm gonna wipe this down real quick and move on to Coral Reef and go into those next little openings. Okay, finishing up my second little layer with my second color. So pretty. Okay. Peel and reveal. Very pretty. Okay, going to just gently remove, wipe down, and there's where we were. You guessed it, we're gonna turn, grab apricot, and blend on. It's just a very, very gratifying process. It's just so neat. I don't know. I feel like I could do this over and over, and I would still kind of hold my breath each and every time that the reveal comes, right? I don't know. Is it just me? I guess I'm just easily impressed. Super fun. Okay, easy peasy. And there we are. Okay, and then let's go ahead. I'm gonna make sure that this is still nice and snug. I think it may have shifted just a little bit, but we're gonna be out fine. Okay, so we were here. I'm gonna make sure, yep. And then we are going to do our final turn. Make sure that doesn't seem too right there. Okay, nestle. And nestle, there we go. That's much better. Okay, now our final color, sweet mustard, is going down. Okay, have all of our colors, and there is our final little fall leaf or wreath, fall wreath, and I think it's super pretty. Okay, I'm gonna make sure these are nice and clean front and back. Set them off to the side because we are done stenciling. Okay, final little cleanup here. And let's move on to trimming down our panels, putting our ink away, and getting these to be really pretty little cards. Okay, so side by side, we have the same color combination, but we have two different stencil kind of layouts here, and I think they're really, really neat. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to bring in my little A2 layer die, and I'm going to trim these down. Now this one is pretty obvious of where I'm going to put it. I'm just going to go pretty much somewhat in the middle there, and that will look really, really nice. We'll have a full panel of really pretty leaves just kind of cascading down. For this one, I think what I'll do is I'm going to off-center it. And there was one little spot on my stencil where I felt like it was a little off. I think it was this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that side. And my original plan was to have it kind of cropped out. I just think it'd be really pretty to kind of off-center it. So that's what I'm going to do for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place some tape down to position my die. Bring in a little bit of pink tape, and I'll use the same die to cut both down. I'm going to make sure I have that where I'd like it. And in fact, I was using this, but I'm going to go one up, and that looks good. Okay. One larger. Okay, I'm going to tape this down, and I'm going to run it through my spellbinders, and I'll also run this down as well. In fact, I also may need to just trim with some scissors this way. Actually, it may fit, but just in case, I'll kind of just trim this down. That way I know it'll fit through my machine. Okay, so both panels have been trimmed down. Look how fresh they look. I think that's just so fun. It's really gratifying to trim them all down. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to do a little heat embossing, and I want to bring in my hello stamp. So I'm going to use the same stamp for both of my cards. And I think what I'll do is I'll emboss on two different materials. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to start with my wreath card. So I'm going to set this panel to the side so we can just focus one card at a time now. And I'm going to grab my Misty, and we'll get to embossing. Okay, so because I have a rather large grading here, I don't want to cover up my really pretty wreath here. So what I think I'll do is I think I will emboss on vellum. That way it doesn't necessarily cover up my beautiful wreath. So I have some heat resistant vellum. I'll link it down below. And I'm going to do it this way because what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a wrap around, like make kind of a band that's going to wrap around this little card panel. So I am going to place my vellum right into my Misty. I'm going to select the hello die. Okay, whoops. There we go. And go ahead and just position it. Position it right down here. Okay, I'm trying to do it as straight as I can. That way, you know what, and as centered as I can. That way, in the end, will only have to trim off the top and also to save some of this heat resistant vellum. Okay, thinking right there looks really nice. Oh, Bethany, sticky little bugger. Okay, I think that looks nice there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this door to clean the stamp. Press that down really nice, reposition my vellum, and because I'm vowing to not forget any more, I'm gonna grab my anti-static powder, And I'm going to prime my vellum. Again, this is a heat resistant vellum. Okay. And let's use some Versamark. There we go. Get it all nice and sticky, the whole thing. Okay, and I'm gonna do that one more time since I just decided to put my fingers all over it. Okay, and stamp down. Now I'm going to do this in gold. I think that'll be really, really pretty, especially for fall. It just is that nice warm tone that can accompany the nice warm tones of the rainbow. I'm missing a spot on my E, so because I have my MISTI, I can just make sure that my vellum is nice and positioned in that corner, and I will just add a little bit more, and hopefully I'll get that little spot that I missed. It's right in the middle of that E. Now you won't be able to see anything because it's a clear little glue, if you will. Oh, that's so much better. So much better. Okay, so now I'll just set this to the side and grab my little paper that will catch my embossing powder. And do you see? Oh, that looks just so good. Okay, then I'm going to use this really pretty embossing powder. It's an ultrafine gold from Simon Says Stamp. And it's so pretty. It is so pretty. So I'm just going to sprinkle that over. I'll let that sit for just a second and then tap it off. Oh, maybe I did get misaligned a little bit. Do you see down here? Oh, and right here too. Okay, I'm gonna redo it. Re-priming my vellum. And you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring in my little cloth. If I have my cloth, sometimes I get a little bit of a smoother transfer. So maybe we can one and done this time. Okay, I think I got it all inked up, but you know, now I'm all nervous. Now I'm all nervous. But I don't mind redoing things because when I just got that with my cloth, when I need to redo something, that means a little longer for mommy to hang out in her craft room. Okay, I grab my little cloth and it just kind of helps me glide over that door a little bit better to make sure I am getting all those little parts. Okay, that looks good. I'm not going to chance and re-stamp. Usually I re-stamp just fine. On vellum sometimes I feel like it's kind of tricky. Just me? I don't know. I don't know. Case in point, the last little try. Okay, I'm gonna let me grab it before I lay that all down. Looks nice. Oh, much better. Ooh, much better. Okay. Double it up just because it doesn't hurt. Really, really good that time. Really good. Okay, I have a couple little spots that I am going to grab my little fine detail. Well, to be honest, it's a makeup brush that I found at Dollar Tree, but it works. Is that on the back side? Okay. I think that was it. Not bad. Looks pretty. Okay, I'm gonna set this to the side, clean up my embossing powder, and then I'm gonna heat it. Okay, let's go ahead and add some heat and it'll just transform and be so pretty. Oh my goodness, this is the most successful I have had heat embossing on vellum. You have to be really careful because if you overheat it, it just gets all marbly and kind of grody looking. And there are some spots that end up being stubborn. As you could see, there was a piece of the L and then on the top of the E that just didn't want to. So I try to kind of go from the back to get those spots just so I don't overheat from the front, and that does help. But look how pretty that turned out. That is gorgeous. I love it. That's the best I've done on vellum. So now I'm going to go ahead and take, also my heat mat, or my glass mat is heat resistant, so don't worry. It is safe to emboss on it. But I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and just start trimming this down. So I think I have the ideal little margin on the bottom of the hello, so I'm just going to try to match that up the best that I can on the top. It's looking like, oh boy, is it 1/4 of an inch? It's just a hair over 1/4 of an inch. So let me see if I can match and line that up. Oh, I hope so, because I did so good on my embossing and I don't want to redo it. Okay, let's try taking, oh, I feel like it needs to be more. Maybe there. Oh, maybe, oh, just a hair more. Do I chance it? Ooh, I feel like I'm gambling when I do this. I really do. Okay, but I'm gonna live on the wild side. And sometimes taking chances pays off. Okay, I think that looks really, really good. I love it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is bring back my little panel here, and I'm going to wrap it. So I'm going to center this. See how you can still get the effect of the pretty wreath behind, yet you have a nice sentiment that kind of stands on its own, right? At least I think so. I'm not going to worry about what the back looks like because it surely doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this exactly how I'd like it. And I'm thinking there. Okay, but centered. Oh, that looks so good. I love it. Okay. And I think that's a little bit more center. I didn't necessarily have it centered on the vellum, but I certainly now have the vellum centered on the card, or the sentiment, that is. And I think that looks nice. So what I'm going to do is turn this over, and I'm going to fold, and I'm just going to tape. And I'm not going to do anything fancy. You could glue if you want, or do a different tape, but honestly, it's just not going to matter because you're never going to see it again. Okay, and then make sure it's nice and straight. I think that looks straight. Make sure it's tight and fold and tape. Tape to secure it. Oh, that's pretty. I really like it. Okay, let's go ahead and put this on a card base. And then I'm going to just dress it up with a little bit of sequins. Okay, bringing in my score buddy, and then also bringing in a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of 110-pound cardstock, and I will score it at 5 1/2, which is center on the 11. And when scored there, we will then have an A2 size top folding card that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that looks really nice. Now I can grab a bone folder, press that down really nicely, and then let's do our panel. I think I will bump it up with some foam tape. When in doubt, add a little foam tape. It makes it look a little bit more professional. It's amazing what foam tape does. I just think it's pretty cool. Okay, so I'll do 3 nice strips here. I recently got some 1-inch foam tape. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm spoiled. The 1 inch is just Well, it just, honestly, it makes me feel legit. I don't know. Okay. Then I like to open my card panel up for this part. And center. Ooh, that looks nice. Okay. That looks good. I'm going to leave this opened just like this for a moment. And I'm going to add my sequins, and I'm going to use my favorite. This is the peach color, Peach Op by Spellbinders. It's my favorite. If I could buy it in bulk or have it given to me in truckloads, I would, because it's just stunning. And I feel like it is stunning on so many different types of cards as well. So I am going to kind of take maybe the smaller of the sequins, and I'm just going to place them some over the berries that are already there. Do you see how we have some berries already? That kind of gives us a nice spot to put some sequins, but I might sneak some in other little parts as well. It's kind of fun. Oh, I had that upside down, so that didn't quite work. There you go. And let's see, I think I'm going to do one here. I'm not going to cover all the berries because I like that some of them are inked, but I'm going to cover just a few. So I think I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'll do this. So pretty. And I think I like the smallest. I want to do a variety, but I do like the small ones for this particular one. It matches the size of the berries behind pretty nicely. And then I think I will sneak one here. I don't want to put one over all the berries. I really don't. But I just kind of want a little trio at the top in fun spots, and then at the bottom. And you know what? I think that I'm going to call that done. Okay, I'm going to leave my sequins out because I have a feeling I'll probably use it on the next card as well. So we'll keep these to the side. But this is going to be the final look for this first card. I really like that. And I think that it's so pretty because there's so many things happening, right? The really, really pretty combination of tones in the wreath is so pretty. But then we have the gold on the vellum, and I really appreciate that vellum doesn't hide our pretty wreath, but it softens it, and it just makes it so much more interesting. But I also really like adding an additional little bit of shine right on that backdrop in the wreath. Super fun. Okay, let's go ahead and play around with our full-size panel and see where we can take that card. So I still want to do my sentiment in that gold embossing powder again, but this time I'm going to do a nice piece of white cardstock because I think we have just so much going on here that it's okay to lose some of it. And I think that by putting a little piece and banner, if you will, of cardstock for our sentiment over, I think we will actually be introducing a little bit of calming white space to a busy background. So that's why I'm thinking no worries. Skip the vellum for this one and go with just some traditional solid cardstock. Not gonna forget my embossing powder. And there we go. Okay. Proud of myself. 2 for 2 today. Okay. Oop, my printer is self-cleaning. So sorry about the background noise. Okay. Going to grab. Go. Let's see about that impression. I think that did well. I do think it could stand for an additional coat. Okay. Here we are. Hopefully our alignment was gold. Looks to be. Okay, clean this off in a moment, but let's get the embossing powder back out and on our next piece. Okay. Lately, I feel like I've been getting my fingers a little bit warm, so I have been bringing back in the little paper clip trick because, well, it hurts. That's some hot heat. Okay. Ooh, that looks good. I'm gonna have to kind of clean up a second there. That's okay. There's something kind of calming about taking that little detailed, well, in my case, because I'm just an amateur card maker, in my case with this little eyebrow brush, but there's something kind of calming about like wiping it away. I don't know. I kind of appreciate slow moments in crafting where you have to really slow and focus for a second. So, you know, I guess I'm telling you that because appreciate all the moments where you have to pause for a moment and be still. Because there's just beauty in those moments. And maybe you just could stand to be still for a moment. I know I can. I know I can. Thankful for those. Okay. Oh, I hope I didn't mess up the bottom. You know what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit of powder back right down on the bottom of that O. I definitely created something there. There, I think we'll be fine. Okay. And just like everyone knows, sometimes when you're trying to make something better, you can indeed make it just a tad worse, but that's okay. I think I fixed it with the additional embossing powder. Okay, let's clean this up, add some heat, finish up this second card, and then, my goodness, envelope time. Two for two. That looks so pretty. So pretty. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna grab my paper trimmer. Now this time I'm not going to do a wrap, but instead I'm just going to get an even margin around that and just trim it down nicely. Okay, so I think I'll take a little bit off of the bottom first. And, oh, I like that. Okay. And then let's try to replicate it on the top. Eek. I think that will probably be pretty close. Oh, not bad. Not bad. Okay, and then on the side. Oh, that got majorly close. That's okay. You know, can't be perfect. Actually, you know what? It might work because I'll show you why. I'll show you why. Yeah, I got a little close on the right, but I think it's gonna be okay, and I'll show you why. Actually, if I had to do it on any card today, I'm glad it's right here. So I'm gonna show you in a moment, but let's put, oh, I like this. Okay, so what I want to do is I think I'm going to go, instead of center, I'm going to go off center and down a little bit. If you'll see, there's kind of a repetitive like pinwheel of leaves right here. And while pretty, I kind of want, I think having those all clustered together, obviously it's necessary to have it for the turnabout, but I think I'm going to cover that a little bit because I think it kind of aids in the randomness when you cover that. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of that foam tape and I'm just going to put one piece down. Let me find my scissors. I'm convinced that I need to have 4 pairs of scissors, 1 in each corner of my craft table, because that is how sporadic my scissors get. I'm always looking for them. It's just kind of a mess. Bringing in my little T-square ruler, I'm going to do this first, and then I'll pop my entire panel down next. I changed my mind. I think for the good of the card, I will do the card base first. Once again, I have this at 11 by 4 1/4. And again, half of 11 is 5 1/2, so that's where I will score it in order to make a final A2 size card. Perfect. Of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Again, top folding. Top folding just makes me really happy. So it's where I gravitate, or what I gravitate towards. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with my foam tape on the back of this panel as well. And then after this, I'll do my little sentiment. I think it'll also just kind of provide a little weight on my panel being attached to my card base. That way I can really just get it aligned just how I want it. And then you'll see why that little whoopsie to the right won't necessarily be game over for this card. Not, you know, and not that it would anyway. I feel like we're our worst critics of ourselves, but the people who receive our cards probably would not even think twice about something like that. Okay, and center down. Okay, now we'll bring back the T-square ruler right here. And again, aiming to kind of just cover a little bit like of that. And I think that looks really good. Now, do you see how I already have a margin because I have my little panel trimmed down smaller than the size of my A2 card? I think that this side, because there's white on this side popping up through from the card base, I think that visually you don't notice as much that I was a smidge off there. Do you see how that really heals the eye? At least it does for me, so I feel a lot better about that. Okay, so I am again going to bring in my sequins, and let's just bring a little bit of shine to this card. We're going to keep it really simple, but I think shine just really polishes out the card and makes it super pretty at the end. Okay, having fun here. In fact, I think I'll add my glue all at once. I'm going to do here, here, and you know, I'm not going to follow any like rule here. I'm just going to kind of have fun with it because I think we can. Okay, I'm going to do the top first, and I'm just going to have fun placing quite a few on there. I think it's fun. Okay, that one's kind of wonky, so I'm going to say bye-bye to that. And I'm going to tuck this just a little bit there. Oh, that's pretty. Bring one here, and then varying up my size a little bit, I'll bring one here, here, grab another big one for here, and then I think I'll do medium and medium, there and there. Okay. That's pretty. Plus, I think it kind of, I don't know, it kind of brings a little bit of fun to some of the white space. And then I think I'll just kind of keep it simple on the bottom and do a couple. So maybe a medium down here, and then the biggest right there. Oh, I think that's really fun. I kind of like the tuck too. I think it kind of brings those two elements of the card together. Okay, covering up my glue. Now I have to show you something. I recently found a paper pack at Hobby Lobby like a while ago, right? Within the last 3 months. And I'll just do this later. I've had it in my craft space and I pulled it out tonight because I've been really wanting to be more intentional about creating envelopes to accompany my cards. One, because I got a really neat envelope punch board or scoreboard that helps me do so, but also because I have a lot of scrapbook paper, which I know you're wondering, then why'd you buy another paper pad? Well, that's just a conversation for another day. But I did that, and okay, I'm just trying to be better, but I'm trying to be better by using some of that paper to make envelopes. So let's go ahead and make an envelope, but you're not gonna believe me when you see this paper. Okay, so the reason I could not buy this paper was because it was $5.49. Are you kidding me? $5.49. I couldn't leave it at the store. I mean, how can you walk away from that? Well, I'm sure you could, but I couldn't. So I'm just gonna open this up. So what I'm gonna do is show you a really perfect piece, and you're not gonna believe me when I say I did not plan the colors of my card after seeing this paper. This actually just beautifully worked out this way. Okay, are you ready? Look at this paper and look at this card. I mean, let me find the other card. It's just so fall, and look, all the colors just match so well. I swear on my stamp set that I did not look at this paper and plan and color coordinate the card to go with it. I did not. It just is the most beautiful accident ever. So I'm gonna grab 2 pieces of this because I'm gonna make 2 envelopes out of this paper. I think there's 3 of each in this paper pack. Yeah, 3 of each. So I still have 1 to spare for later, but you know, I thought it was just meant to be. So grabbing 2 pieces, let's make our envelopes. Okay, you know I save it to the end. You know I always save it until the end, but I have to zoom out in order to finish up these envelopes, and you're gonna see the mess that happens from creating cards. And I say it time and time again, it's amazing how 2 tiny little cards can create such a mess behind the scenes. But we're gonna do a mid little video cleanup and mid-craft cleanup, and then we're gonna make these beautiful, beautiful envelopes. Okay, so bringing out my punch board and bringing back in my paper, I have a whole tutorial on how to use this punch board. It is amazing. I love it, and it's a really great way to make your own personalized envelopes using any paper that you would like. Plus, it's a scrap paper buster, and if you have lots of scrapbook paper, then this is definitely worth the investment. So I'm gonna make an A2 size card. So when you open up this little panel here, it gives you a variety of card envelopes that you can make. I'm gonna go ahead and go to A2. Now, of course, you can't read that because I can barely read it because it's teeny tiny, but I know that I need to trim my paper size to 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then it also references another number here that I will use later when we actually use the score feature of the board. So for now, I'm gonna bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to do 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. Okay, so here's my paper trimmer and my paper. I love this. It's just so pretty. And let's see here. 8 1/4. Just like so. Okay. Always save your scraps. You can always do very fun things with your scraps. And 8 1/4. Okay, I'll go ahead and trim my second piece down exactly the same, and then we'll make the envelopes. Okay, so we have a little score tool that comes with the board. So I'm going to bring that out. It's right here. Set my cards up here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference that second number. Again, A2, I have 8 1/4 by 8 1/4 trimmed down in terms of size for my paper. And the other number I need to reference is 3 5/8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my paper in, and I'm going to line it up to 3 5/8, just like that. I'm going to double check because I just want to make sure. Okay, 3 5/8, 3 5/8. So I have it lined up right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to punch, and then I am going to score on, now there is line A and B. In fact, I should bring this little extender out. That can be helpful. And line A is the one closest to me. So line A, score. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to rotate once. I'm going to look at that score line. It's a little hard to see because of the busyness of my patterned paper, but I'm going to line up that score line with this little indentation right here. There's a score line right here. Okay, so I'm going to line those up. So you really only have to reference that 3 5/8 for your first time, right? Because now you're not really measuring anything. You're just lining up your score line. Okay. Punch and then score on A. Okay. Then I'm going to turn, line up my score line, punch, and score on A, turn, line up my score line, okay, punch, and there we go. Okay, so now I have my little envelope here. Now what you can do is to soften the corners, you can come up here, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, and you can place your little corners right in this little notched area and punch, and then you have a nice rounded corner. I like to take that step. I think it just looks really nice. And done. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing. If you're like me and find that repetitiveness really helps, then I'm going to do it one more time because I need to anyway, but it'll just help you to solidify the process. Referencing 3 5/8, again, only for that first punch. Okay, punch and score at A, rotate, line up the score line. There we go. Punch, score on A, rotate, line up the score line, punch, score on A, and finally lining up our score line and scoring on A. Okay, rounding my corners by bringing up just that top area. Now once you remove the board, it is hollow in the back, so you'll see all those little tiny pieces that you are punching out on the back. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just leave my little bone folder right inside of my little punch board and close this up because now I'm done. But see, there's our little pieces, so we can just throw those out. And then I'm going to bring in my bone folder, and I'm just going to fold on my score lines. And once you fold on the score lines, you're going to see your little envelope take shape. And how familiar does that look, right? You have yourself a nice personalized envelope. So I'm just going to get those nice and creased. Now, one other thing that I like to do is you can certainly just start using your adhesive to put it together as is. I actually like to trim this off. So I grab my little tiny paper trimmer. I love my mini trimmer. I think it's just so handy. And then what I do is I just put that little side in and I take off roughly about 1 inch. So, in fact, if you fold this side down, it gives you a nice right angle so that you can get it nice and straight, but about 1 inch. And I feel like when that's taken off, I feel like that looks just a lot better to me. You don't have to take that step, but I think it looks better. So now I'm going to open it back up. I'm just going to grab some score tape. I'm going to use 1/4 inch. I think when I did a tutorial on this previously, I used 1/8 of an inch, but 1/4 of an inch is going to be perfect. So I'm going to measure out what I need, trim, and place along this inner flap here. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing for this side. Measure, trim, and place it right there. Okay, then I will simply remove my backer. Make sure that that's really down there. Okay, removing one and the other side. Okay, then there we go. We have our little envelope. How cute is that? Okay, so we have a coordinating envelope for our first card. Oh my goodness. Honestly, that is just too cute. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and repeat with envelope number 2, folding and scoring, and then placing my adhesive on. But also, before doing that, just trimming off about 1 inch off that little side. Whoops, wrong side. That way, it just, I don't know, to me, it visually looks better. So I'm going to take one side and fold it down. Bring in my trimmer and trim off about 1 inch. Maybe even a little less. Okay. And I'll assemble this final envelope. Okay, I love this. I think they're so cute, and what a great way to use the pattern paper that I have. And now I feel less guilty about splurging on that paper pack because I've already put a little bit to good use. I think there's about 60 pages in there at least, and I've used 2, so hey, I'm getting there. Okay, I hope this was fun for you to watch. I hope you enjoyed this. I really think that stenciling is really, really fun and relaxing to both do and to just really help bring a fun card together. I liked the variety here. I liked that stencil pack had both a full panel stencil, but also a circular wreath. I thought that was really, really fun. I like how these coordinate together, but they both stand alone and they both have a completely fun and different look from one another. And I really enjoyed doing a little bit of heat embossing on that vellum. I think it turned out really, really fun. While it can be a little bit tricky, you want to be delicate with your heat, but when you do it correctly, it really turns out so pretty and nice. And then, of course, you can't ever go wrong with a little bit of gold emboss on a just very simple white piece of cardstock. That looks beautiful as well. I hope that you were inspired in some way by this video, and if you were, then please be sure to give this a thumbs up. I sure hope to see you in the next video as we continue crafting for fall, and I can't wait to show you what will be coming to my craft table next. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.